Good morning, and how are everyone doing? Or how is everyone doing? I hope you're all doing fine and well. Today's video, I just wanted to talk about maybe let's do a little mini series on driving in Singapore. For those of you who are traveling or are thinking of driving a car in Singapore, or you're traveling to Singapore, or maybe you are getting a new car here and you're going to start driving in Singapore. This is probably just a very personal sharing from a driver who's been doing this for some time. I think, if I remember, I got my license 2010, I think. So it's 2025 now, so that would be about, what, 15 years? Yeah, 15 years that I've been driving. So I guess the first part we should talk about is the driving position, is that you'll be on the right hand side. So in certain countries, maybe say, I think it's in the UK and Singapore, Malaysia, and is it maybe Indonesia? I think the steering is on the right hand side, and maybe some other South Asian countries as well. Yeah, so that's one thing. And then the next thing I would say, aside from the driving position, would be understanding, the etiquettes of the road. So one thing I would say is that whenever I'm driving here, there are lots of speed limits, so you can't go above in built-up residential areas where there are a lot of flats. Most of the time, if you're driving in the heartlands here, you have flats. The speed limit is 60 and below, 60 kilometers and below. If you're traveling on highways, which we'll be going on one soon, it will be 80 kilometers. That would be the baseline for the speed limit. It's 80 kilometers per hour. You can't go any higher, but of course I think there are tolerances. You can hit 90 kilometers per hour, maybe you can hit 100 kilometers per hour, but on the highways it's 80 kilometers per hour. So on the highways, the lanes are counted like lane 1, 2, 3, 4. So the first lane as in lane 1, starts from the right hand side. So if you're driving as I am right now, as we go on the highway, you will see that when we get to the rightmost lane, as we make this right turn, there will be lane 1. Because when you're turning right, stick to your own lane. So this lane we're entering now is lane 1. Then the lane that the white car just went to is lane 2. Yeah. Okay, so the thing about this is that as we're talking about speed limits, so right now I'm going about 40-ish. I'm gonna pull it up to maybe 45, 60. So now I'm gonna merge into another highway. So you check my right hand side. And here's the thing, since we are doing lane changing, a few tips for some of you is that over here, when you signal to change your lane, it's not always necessarily true that the lane that you're switching to, the other drivers are obliged to give you any lane, or leeway to change into that lane. My professional advice is always think and never consider that the driver who's coming out on the right hand lane will be happy or willing to give you the chance to change your lane. So it's probably more like, if you go with your discretion that it's safe, then yes, go ahead and change your lane. Once you turn your signals, you change your lane. And we just had a motorbike go by. So another thing about motorbikes here is that the bikes tend to go, as you can see, we've got the lane markers that mark out lane 1 and 2. So the bikers here tend to go in between the center of the lane, and certain bikes that are from Malaysia, they tend to ride on the lane breaker. It's called the ones that are with the dotted lanes, the lane breakers. They tend to go in the lane breakers and they ride on lane breakers for extended periods. So that's something that you need to be careful about as I am changing my lane. There are people who just change into your lane, which is from lane 1, and they go into lane 2, and from what I just did, I'm going from lane 3 to lane 2, so you need to watch out also for cars that are going from lane 1 into 2 as well. If you ask me, where is this habit of people not, willing to yield? The word yielding, okay, is probably very strong, but very rarely do I see drivers here, okay, I'll be honest, okay, be willing to yield. And one strange behavior you notice is that when you signal, they tend to speed up. Now I'm changing my lanes, I don't see any cars for a little bit, about 20-30 meters behind me, so I'm fine. Once you see that the lane is clear, turn on your blinkers and then off you go into that lane if it's safe for motorbikes and oncoming cars, oncoming cars and bikes. So now we're in lane 1. That's one thing you need to understand is the lane changing culture here is that always think that whether you're going to lane 1, which is the lane I'm in, the rightmost lane, into the left lane and lane 2, or from lane 2 to lane 1, or from another lane to lane 2, so like from lane 3 to 2, always consider and always assume that the person's not going to give way to you, because to be honest, let me give you a bit of statistics from my own experience. 85% to 90% of drivers here generally don't really feel obligated to give way to you, because it's the way it is. Maybe it's just that they're in a hurry, or in my opinion, I think it's an ego thing. They have an ego, they're not willing to give way to you, and they just cut in, or they're just going to I'm not going to let you go into my lane, I'm going to speed up. So I've always made this joke is that whenever I want to change my lanes, suddenly the oncoming traffic from the lane that I'm changing into will just speed up. And when they see that you're turning on your blinkers, they speed up because they're not willing to give way to you. So generally in my rule book, if you're gonna say, okay, how about you as a driver, is that I would be more than happy to give way to cars changing lanes, but they have to do it safely, which is not like at the very last minute kind of condition, oh, you decide to change a lane kind of thing, because that's just outright dangerous and really reckless. Yeah. So now that we're on the highway, now I've finished talking about lane changing. So we're now on the highway heading westbound. This is the East Coast Parkway, ECP. I'm in lane 2. So a little bit about the highway on the ECP, if you're driving in Singapore, is that during rainy days you might want to stay in the center lane, because the right lane where you see that cerulean car that just drove by, or you call it teal colored car, the water tends to pool on the side, on the very far right side, which is in lane 1. So if you're driving in lane 1, there can be conditions whereby you suddenly hit into a very big pool of water, and you'll find that your car's jerking about. So during heavy rainy seasons, take the center lane. I find that it's always the safest. You might ask, how about lane 3, which is where the black SUV is. He's changing lanes into my lane now. That's fine. If you're going in early, you're signaling early, you're doing it safely, I'm fine with that. So if you're going to change a lane to lane 3 during a heavy rainstorm to the leftmost lane, there might be the same conditions that the water might be pooling, and you might run into a very big pool of water. So this is how, I guess because of how the roads have been designed, and there have been certain areas where the curvatures of the road are maybe sloping inwards, so it causes the water to pool, or maybe the area doesn't have good how would I say it, drainage. So when the drainage is not good, the water can't drain out properly from the highway. Yeah, so avoid lanes 1, especially during a heavy rainstorm here in Singapore, because sometimes the cars here tend to cluster and group up, even during non-rainy seasons. So the word of advice I would give you is, if you're driving during a peak hour, like in the morning from 7 to 9 a.m. and you're on a highway and you notice that cars in the front over there, let's say for there, are starting to cluster, you might want to change your lanes to either where the truck just passed me by in lane 3 or to the lane I'm in, which is lane 2. Because sometimes the drivers here tend to be very fast in lane 1, because lane 1 is the overtaking lane. It is also the speeding lane if you want to go speedy. And so if you're going to be in lane 1, okay, let's talk about the lane 1 rules. You need to be fast, based on traffic conditions in front of you. So if you're going to be overtaking, best is to take lane 1, because normally that's what they do here. Take lane 1 as the overtaking lane and the fast lane. So if you're going to go at granny speed, yes, granny and grandpa speed, at like 40 to 60 kilometers per hour, don't be in lane 1, because you just piss everybody off and they'll hate you for it. And what you might happen to see is certain continental car drivers. When I say continental car drivers, you're looking at people who drive Audis, BMWs, Mercedes, maybe Jaguars, Maseratis, or any high-end luxury car. They'll pull up really close behind you and they start playing the high beaming game, where they start blinking their headlights, airing their grievances, and some might honk at you because, well, it's just the way they are. They're just in a hurry. They just want to get going, and they think that you're hogging the lane. So don't hog lane 1 if you're going to go slow. You can take lane 3 if you want to go super slow, or lane 2. Now we're approaching, I think this is a great situation that's happening in front, is that the cars are starting to slow down. We've got somewhat of a mini jam. Yes? So you can see lane 1, which is my right hand side, is starting to cluster up. So if you don't want to have rear fender benders, which is accidents with cars hitting you from the rear, don't go in lane 1, especially when there are, if you look at the conditions and the car clustering up and there's traffic jams, I would advise you to stay off lane 1, because people are clustering up and sometimes they're impatient. With impatience comes recklessness and miscalculation. So just be careful about being in lane 1 when cars are clustering up. Yeah, because the fender benders in lane 1 are usually very serious, because you're traveling at a high rate of speed. Yes. Where we are now, we are on the East Coast Parkway, still going westbound. We are passing near Bayshore. Okay, Bayshore's sort of near the beach. So on my left hand side, if you keep going past the trees, past the park, you'll hit the beach. Yeah, and time now is 7:34 a.m. It's Tuesday morning, the 8th. No, it's not the 8th. It's the 5th of August, 2025. So in instances of traffic jams, just be slow, especially when you're driving in Singapore. Expect that the lane 3, which is the leftmost lane, where you see the arrow on the ground is showing left turn, always be prepared that there is someone who might, at the very last minute, saw that they're going to the left and they want to come into the right lane, which is where we are now, and suddenly just change their lanes. So you can either close the gap between yourself and the car in front, or you can keep a safe distance from the car in front, like what I'm doing as well. So yes, I hope this information that has been quite useful for those of you driving. You're getting a first-hand experience of the driving on the roads. And the motorbike just passed me. He's turned on his hazards because I guess he's drawing attention, and he wants to show that he's going to be cutting through the lanes. And as you can see, when you're driving in Singapore, most of the motorbikes tend to weave in and out, so they ride the lane breakers, and they will be riding that for some time. Yeah. As we are moving along, we are now being joined by cars exiting from Biduk. Okay, so or you call it Beduk or Biduk, it's up to you. I call it Beduk or Biduk. So lane 3 in the previous about 20 meters back, lane 3 was turning into Beduk, and as you can see in front of me, this Kia Stinger, this white car, just entered into my lane, so that's fine because I'm keeping a safe distance, and he's signaling and is coming in slowly. That's fine. Now he's changed his lane to the right. Now in jams on certain highways here, lane 3 may seem like the most safest lane to a degree. That depends if you're not having a lot of big lorries, because the semi-trucks or tipper lorries, they tend to be in lane 3. Heavier vehicles or slow-moving vehicles should be in lane 3, which is the leftmost lane. And so during traffic jams, you can consider taking lane 3 because the cars are slower. Lane 2, which we're in now, is sort of like alright, but it depends, because sometimes when traffic jams happen, the cars in lane 1 tend to cut into lane 2 because they're very sick and tired of being in lane 1 and the slow moving traffic. So lane 3 is your best friend if you want to go slow in the traffic jam. Yeah, as you can see, the gap between the lorry in lane 3 and the black Maserati, which is just past us on the left, is quite wide. So now we're speeding up a bit, so we're quite alright. Yeah. Now we're coming towards an overhead bridge, and we're going to pass underneath an overhead bridge. So for those of you who are driving here, the traffic enforcement agency called the LTA, the Land Transport Agency, or the Singapore Traffic Police, the acronym is called TP, right, tend to put their speed cameras, mobile speed cameras, which will be a man with a tripod and a camera on top of overhead bridges looking down, and they'll be marking a speed limit as you go by. So it'll be either the traffic that's going westbound, which we are, or the traffic on the far right hand side, which is going eastbound, back to the east. So they tend to be hiding on top of the bridges to catch speeding vehicles. So that's one thing to note whenever you are driving in Singapore. You're on the highways and you're passing overhead bridges. So the speed limit we're going about now, it's about 60 to 80. So we're now going about 73 kilometers per hour. Because right now we've got a little bit of slow traffic, but not too bad in front of us. You can see all the heavy vehicles on in lane 3. That's where they are. Yeah. Just a keynote: heavy vehicles, tipper lorries, pickup trucks, vans. Speed limits here are 60 kilometers per hour by law. All these are bylaw is that they can only travel 60 clicks per hour. This guy's kind of a bit near, so keep a distance. So the vans and the heavy vehicles, some of them, as you can see, them by a black sticker on the left hand side of that van in front of us, the blue van. That little, there's a circle sticker, the black and white circle sticker, that shows the digits. 70 kilometers per hour for this van means that he can only go at that speed. Doesn't matter if it's in lane 1, 2, 3 or 4. At all times he can only go at 70 kilometers per hour, but it's also subject to the road speed itself. So the road speed on that particular road shows 60 kilometers per hour. You can only go at 60 clicks, even if your maximum speed is 70 kilometers per hour. You're subject to the road's speed limits. Alright, so we are going to approach towards the Fort Road exit, which will be somewhat southeast, and a little bit of traffic here. So I'm not sure where I'll stop the video, but I just thought this would be just part one of it, just to share with you guys. Yeah, and if you are riding as a motorbike, you can watch this video and do consider it as well. And for those of you who are traveling to Singapore and you're doing you're renting a car, or you could be a first-time driver, first-time motorcyclist or cyclist. FYI, since I just raised the subject about cyclists, you are not cyclists. You are not allowed on the highways and expressways at all. There is no zero tolerance about that. There's not going to be any Tour de France here, so especially on the highways, unless they block it off for cycling events as well. Let me see, we've got a little bit of rain this morning since we've been driving, and so far the roads don't seem to have any floods or pools of water. Yeah. And now we've got this heavy lorry, construction lorry, that's coming up into my lane, and I don't know if you can actually see, but on the bottom left hand most part of his vehicle with the high-vis stickers, he's actually had a sticker with a 60 kilometers per hour speed limit, so that's as fast as he's going to be going. Now obviously if you're not happy with how slow he's going, you can feel free to change your lane as I'm doing right now. If the lane is clear, you just overtake and you go. And we're moving along. So this is the leftmost lane. And I guess we'll end off before we go too far into the tunnel, which is the MCE tunnel. These Marine Coastal Expressway. So the leftmost lane, which you just see on right now with that line, okay, not this one, this is basically the road divider. The leftmost, all the way to the left, that's the emergency lane, or if your car breaks down and you're in trouble, you pull all the way to the left with your hazards on, and then you can stop there for emergency services or towing services to pick you up. Alright guys, I will end the video now. I'm entering the MCE tunnel, and till the next time, this is Y2K in his vessel signing off, and wishing all of you a pleasant driving journey ahead while you are visiting Singapore or you're living here as well. Take care and have a great time. Stay healthy and